Hi there, welcome to another episode of Harrison Hobbies. Today we are going to be looking at the HumanCentric speaker. So I needed a new set of speakers for my desktop. Originally I had some low power Logitech ones, and I was looking online and these kind of caught my eye. The main advantage, what makes these special, is the fact that supposedly they have a tube amplifier. So in the video we will do a super quick unboxing, we will check out some of the specs, and then we'll give it a shot. Because it has the tube amplifier, it should have an analog amplification. So we'll hook it up to an oscilloscope. Got a new oscilloscope, we can check that out too, and see what the waveform looks like. And slight disclaimer, I've kind of already opened this up, played with them a little bit, so you know they're not going to be in their fresh baggies whenever we pull them out. But let's get started. So some quick specs on these speakers. The manufacturer is claiming that these are going to be 30 watt RMS, so 15 watts per channel. They have a 0.8 inch silk dome tweeter, a 2¼ inch mid-range driver, and then somewhere inside of each unit is going to be a 3-inch passive radiator. So typically that's just a speaker diaphragm that doesn't have the inductive coil on the back of it. So it's usually used to amplify bass. And then the last feature of both of these, related to the sound specifically, is going to be a port at the back of each of these, presumably to help out with bass a little bit. It's probably going to be a feature that you either really like or really hate, and that's going to be the shroud around the tweeters. The shroud is actually about the same height as the speaker unit itself. So according to their marketing, this is a hyper-focused tweeter for natural sound reproduction. So presumably what this is going to do is take those really, really high frequencies, kind of channel them toward the listener. In a quick bench test that I did, they did have incredible trouble. Not harsh or shrill, it was very, very pleasing. So again, I'm not really a speaker guy, I'm more of a headphone guy. I have been since college and having roommates. But these didn't sound bad. They actually sounded pretty good. And then a quick walk around of the actual driving unit is its secret sauce here is going to be the tube amps. So it's got two here, left and right channel. They warm up almost instantly. We also have the phono jack in the back here. We have the auxiliary, and then we have the 14-volt power, and lastly a standby switch back there. So it looks like it puts the tubes to sleep. Again, after listening to them for even a few minutes at a higher volume, the tubes started to warm up quite a bit. So they've got some ports at the top here to let the hot air out, though I don't actually see any porting at the bottom of these. So I'm not sure where that air that's convecting up is going to come from. But we'll probably run the FLIR on this also so we can see how hot they're actually getting through the acrylic. And lastly, at the time of filming here, they cost around $100 on Amazon. So let's talk a little bit about their inputs. First, and probably the most common used here, if you're using these as computer speakers, is going to be your auxiliary in. So that's just a standard 3.5mm jack, similar to what you'd have on a pair of headphones. It also has an RAA phonograph input. The RAA here is specifically tuned for phonographs in that it reduces low frequencies and it boosts the high frequency. We'll try that out, I guess, for fun. We'll see what that sounds like. But realistically, probably you're going to be using the auxiliary input on these more than anything. And then lastly, because it is a modern speaker, it's got NFC, it's got Bluetooth 5.0 on it. We have a menu / pair button on the top here. We have a volume up and volume down button integrated here. So in addition to it being the analog tubes, it looks like we've got, you know, a bunch of digital circuit in here too. And then lastly, up at the corner here, we have a power indicator. So a couple of other things come in the box here. The first is going to be some rubber feet. So these come with it. These are thick. They weigh probably about 1/4 as much as the speaker itself. And they orient the speaker as such. So you can kind of see the difference here. So in theory, this will be blasting quite a bit more at the listener. So that is a nice feature. Again, once they're on the desk, I'm not sure whether I'm going to want them here. Probably these are going to be sitting behind monitors now that most people have moved to ultra wides. this may not, unless these are probably in front or to the side of your monitor, you're probably going to want to have the speakers like this. Otherwise, the tweeters and their super awesome hyper-focused tweeter sound reproduction will be actually blasting at the back of your monitor. We have what looks to be a standard RCA cable. This thing is about 8 feet long. So you'll be able to spread them out quite a bit, and that connects just the back RCA cables here. So nothing fancy, but again, it seems decent quality, can't complain. It also is going to come with your 2.5 amp 14 watt power brick. And then lastly, your 3.5 millimeter to 3.5 millimeter standard audio cable here. This thing is what, maybe 4 feet long. So not too much there, but again, it's probably going to be pretty close to your computer. So let's get them plugged in and try it out. One thing, as I've been using these for a minute here now, is if you do have your desktop, or I guess if you have it plugged into a laptop, on the left side, you're probably going to need a new set of speakers, right? Because this one is barely here at the opposite end of the desk. And again, this is like maybe a 3 foot, possibly a 4 foot desk here. And with the laptop over here and it plugged into the left side here of the laptop, it can't even go across the desk. So if you are connected over wire, be prepared that maybe if you're getting these off Amazon, you order maybe a 6 foot wire with these also. So if we hook this one up here, you'll notice that the tubes don't turn on here. So we actually have to hit the standby button, and that'll get those turned on. And we'll start out here with auxiliary. We'll go into the laptop here, and then we will connect the back. So I'll have these facing toward me, so hopefully my lavalier mic will be able to pick these up a little bit better. And we've got, again, red. Right now it's a red power indicator, but it looks like depending on mode, it also turns blue. Just play some generic music here. So the first thing I can say about using these is the audio on these is really, really clear. Again, as I said earlier, I'm not really into speakers, so these will really be kind of in the past, what, maybe 10 or 15 years, the first pair of speakers I've actually purchased. And overall, I gotta say, for a small package, they have quite a bit of bass. They were shaking the table here. I mean, granted, this table isn't super stout, but they were shaking the table with the bass quite a bit. The tweeters, the clarity on the upper end is really, really, really good. And overall, they sound pretty good. Again, I'm listening to some high bitrate audio here, so we're using the onboard Dell laptop sound card, so I'm not really sure that's going to be the best. So we won't gauge it from an audiophile perspective, more as just a casual listener with a pair of speakers that look pretty unique. So I'm going to let these run for a couple of minutes here. We'll increase the volume, and so we'll kind of simulate what would it look like with some heavy listening, and we'll pull a FLIR and we'll see what the tubes look like. So we've been listening to these things for about 10 minutes. You know, they've been full blast, and to be honest, the tubes aren't heating up as much as I'd anticipated. We are running around 112, 113 degrees. We've, again, dropped the emissivity down because we are looking at acrylic here. So we're 0.8, which arguably may be a little bit low. But you can see here that the entire speaker unit itself is relatively cool, minus those tubes specifically. So it looks like we're clocking in at around 115. On the other side, which is kind of hard to show, it's about 120. And one other thing that we did want to try here was seeing what it sounds like with the audio in hooked into the phono, the RAA input, instead of our auxiliary. So we'll run this song again one more time. We'll see what it sounds like here on the auxiliary. So it's pleasing, right? Highs are super clear, lows aren't muddy at all, they're very tight. So let's plug it into the RAA now. So, and it sounds like it takes a couple of seconds for it to realize. It kind of beeps. So It also sounds like there's a lot more amplification. Like, this is 2 on like Windows Audio, and it's very, very loud. Like up to 30, 40, like it's very, very loud. So it sounds like there's a lot more amplification. If we go back to the auxiliary in, that same volume is here, it's barely even audible. So in order to get, I guess, at least kind of roughly the same, we're having to do 25, 26 volume on Windows. So it sounds like there's a lot more low-level amplification on the RAA there. And then these are coming in as the HC PS2, HumanCentric PS2. Okay. So they bump pretty hard. Whenever you're going volume up and down, some Bluetooth will actually adjust the volume on your phone, right? So there's like the handshake. That was not a very good handshake. So there's the handshake there between. This does not have that. So again, whenever I am playing with the volume here, we're maxed out, and then we go volume down. But then here on the phone, they're completely separate. So that's kind of a little bit of a downside, I guess, since if you're not near the speakers, now you have 2 separate sources of volume you have to deal with. Typically that's seen with older Bluetooth generations. So I'm a little surprised to see it if these have Bluetooth 5.0. But again, I mean, it's clear fidelity. So overall, it's pretty good. But now the last piece that I want to look at is what the actual waveform coming out of these tube amps looks like. So the game plan for this is we've got our new oscilloscope here. We are on channel A. Channel A is turned on. Turn that off so we can get rid of the line. And we've got just the aux out, or the RCA connector here. We will take one of the probe terminals, put it here. The other will clip on to the centerpiece, and this should give us a waveform. So you can see here, this is, if this were square wave, you'd end up seeing just spikes up and down here, vertical lines a lot more. So this is nice sinusoidal. And if you're not an audiophile, if you're not into speakers or any kind of fidelity here, you really probably won't be able to hear any difference. But if you are into this, or if you're just into tech, this is kind of cool here. I mean, you're very gentle sweeping, but again, it's coming from a digital source. So, it's still converting that digital into something that mechanical systems can actually handle more easily. So this has been a quick review on the HumanCentric speakers at first use. And again, I've used them now for a couple of hours between getting ready for this quick video, as well as some of the testing here. And overall, I am impressed. For $100, are they worth it? Yeah, I mean, really, I don't see any reason why they're not. They don't have any glaring design issues. They feel very nice. They're covered in a soft touch silicon here. So it's definitely going to be the kind of stuff that may do great over time, especially in warmer climates. So they may get kind of sticky and gross in 10 years. But aside from that, really, there's nothing that I would necessarily change on these. I find them to be aesthetically pleasing. So, and for $100, I think they're delivering $100 in sound quality. So overall, I'd say that these are certainly a recommendation to buy if you like the aesthetic. Again, if you don't like the aesthetic, there's for $100, I mean, you can get Bose, you can get plenty of others, M-Audio, tons of different brands. But if you want something that's going to kind of make you stand out a little bit, something to look at, some cool tube amps here, again, that are going to give you a lot better integrated amplifier audio than you'll get with most things, these are certainly the speakers to get. So thanks for watching. Check back soon for more videos.